Good evening and welcome to the Arundel Camera Club virtual live stream for Thursday, May 26, 2022. My name is John Milliker and I'm the club president for the 2021-2022 season. The Arundel Camera Club was founded in 1957 and exists to promote the art, science, and education in all aspects and fields of photography. For more information about us, please visit www.arundelcameraclub.org. Thank you for joining us on our virtual live stream. We will start up again in our next season at the end of August with full in-person meetings that will also continue to be live streamed for our out-of-town members and anyone not feeling well. Also, if you were in attendance last week during our end-of-year awards banquet, or if you didn't join us live, you missed out on a really fun night. A great time was had by all, and thanks to Michelle Barkdahl running the raffles, where our generous members raised an amazing $485 for the club. It's always such a treat to see the end-of-year award winners picked from our yearly contests, and I think the club is well represented for another season with the Photograph of the Year by Tammy Gorsak. We also had a meet and shoot at Fort Smallwood Park on Saturday, May 21st. The weather was pretty hot, but we had a great cooling breeze from the water, making it an absolutely gorgeous day. We will be announcing another meet and shoot for June, likely at Lake Waterford Park. Keep an eye out for an announcement on that. And before I turn the microphone over to Ron, I wanted to say that while this meeting is our last official meeting of the season, the Arundel Camera Club has a lot more to offer over the summer. In addition to our active Facebook group and mailing list, we have the meet and shoots like we had on Saturday. We have great field trips and our summer picnic in August. If you're not yet a member, please go to arundelcameraclub.org and sign up, and that will get you on our mailing list so that you won't miss out on anything we have to offer. And here's our contest chair, Ron Piper, with our club events contest.
Okay, thank you, John. I wanted to start off by explaining to folks viewing what this is this evening. If you are part of Arundel Camera Club, you know we have our events contest. So each member had the opportunity to submit a black and white and a color image from each of the events that they attended this summer. This year, going back to last summer, as well as the 4th of July last summer and the Renaissance Festival last fall. Otherwise, they were actual events we held, and in the course of the year, we invite people to turn these in. Now, other years we've had these both in print and in digital. So this year, as in the past year or so, we're going to go strictly digital. We have the same as in the past, a novice category and unlimited images. And we have a grand prize for the first place winner. For each of those two will be a free one-year membership for next year. So our judge this evening is someone I've known through the Maryland Photography Alliance for a couple of years. Pete has been taking pictures since 1959, when he started out as at that time when he lived in Taiwan, the son of an American Army officer. He has been dabbling in darkroom over the years, and he continued his darkroom work while he was employed for a number of years at the National Institutes of Health. Pete is an avid Adobe Photoshop user, and I should connect with him later so I can work on sharpening my chops, because I need some help in that area. After retiring from NIH, Pete became a member of the Silver Spring Camera Club, which is one of the really well-esteemed, highly esteemed clubs in that Washington area. They have just a very, very rich program. He's a director and a frequent presenter there. He's also very active in the Photographic Society of America, PSA, which I think we're currently a member of that group as a club. He leads a photography study group and selects photographers for the monthly digital dialogue showcase, so he's been quite busy with them. Over the years, Pete's gotten a lot of awards, both local and international. He's been recognized by Silver Spring as a Photographer of the Year. His work has been hung in the Maryland State House, which is a pretty big deal. He's a certified photography judge with the MPA, and I every time I've heard Pete talk about photography, it's very thoughtful. It's got a lot of depth, and it shows he's taken his time to study the image and think about it. So it seemed like that was a perfect opportunity for to introduce Pete to our club with the events contest at the end of the year. So Pete, welcome. Yeah, did I miss something you wanted to say?
Um, I kept wondering who you were talking about, but I certainly appreciate it. I think that it's important for the club members to have some idea of how I go about judging. And one of the things that I've found is that everyone has biases. And I think, as I'm sure Ron has, I have also tried to be aware of whatever biases I have and to not let them interfere with my judging. The things that I look for when I'm judging, I look for emotional impact, and I really like originality and creativity. And of course, composition and the flow of lines and the techniques for post processing also certainly matter. But it's really important to me that photographers realize that the competition judges are only giving their opinions. There is no opinion that's more critical than the opinion of the photographer, him or herself. So that's kind of an introduction to the way I see judging and camera club competitions in general.
Okay, well, great. You're exactly the person we need this evening then. I want to warn you ahead of time, some of the images actually have won placements in past monthly contests, because sometimes we do these events and you end up with the shot that you want to put in, at the end of the month in the contest. So they've won there, and that does not disqualify them from this contest. This is strictly for the money, for the, if you will, for the membership.
Right.
So let's see if we can set up the first contest. That's for the novice group. We had a total of 11 novice images submitted. And what we're going to do with those, and in fairness to everybody in the club listening, Pete has received a copy of the images and gone through them, so he was not going to be shocked with anything this evening when we got to do judging. So we're going to try to go through and select. First of all, we're going to look at all of them. Secondly, we're going to go through and do the in and out, as we often do, and try to get a number of finalists, if you would call, from which he would select our top winner from the novices. So you have your seatbelt on, Pete? You ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay. John, why don't we go ahead and get started, I guess?
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, first image is Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens.
And you're going to go through them quickly this time, right?
Yes, and just name them.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Number 2, looking down Brighton Dam. Okay, number 3, getting ready for the big day. All right, number 4, Heron. If you'll hang on 1 second, I'm going to try to make an adjustment here in my screen so I can follow better. Okay, number 5, Kenilworth Bug. Number 6, Reading Room. Number 7, Artist in Residence. Number 8, Azalea Gardens. Number 9, Walker's Brighton Dam. Number 10, Red-Headed Woodpecker. Number 11, COVID Beware. Now, all of these were images that were shot in the 2021-2022 year. We went through to check the dates on these files to make sure that nobody had inadvertently dropped something in from a previous collection. All right, so those are the 11. Pete, we're going to start off with number 1 and open for your comments.
Great. Well, this photograph actually just kind of makes me happy. It's a startling image of the two blossoms. I think that the photographer did an amazing job not blowing out the highlights and yet having it be extremely bright, and having the entire blossom in each case totally in focus. Very nicely done. A couple of things that I might consider. One would be to actually have a little more space, particularly on the left and right side, if there's more room in the picture to crop a little less severely. Also, you might want to slightly reduce the saturation on the greens in the background. I think the flowers, I think they're hibiscus, stand on their own and they're beautiful. And the yellow stems in the middle, offset by the red, is very nicely done. So let's leave that in.
Okay.
And this is an intriguing path. I like the fact that the photographer decided to almost frame the path with the azaleas. That's cleverly done and almost pulls you down the path. I think that it's an image that sort of makes you want to be there. And I think that takes a great deal of skill on the photographer's side. In terms of things that you might want to consider doing, I found that the people in the far distant area are a bit distracting. They are not full pictures of people, so they aren't really the focal point. I find that the focal point to me is the path leading me down to the water, to the lake. But a nicely done image. Let's take that one out.
Okay. John, you're doing the ins and outs up there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right.
And some
Number 3.
some images tell a story, and this one is certainly one of those. I thought that the title of Getting Ready for the Big Event really nailed this quite nicely. I do find that I have a hard time deciding exactly what I want to look at. There's almost too much going on for me to be comfortable sitting and just looking at this image. The orange bucket that's almost in the middle keeps attracting my attention because its color and its brightness kind of stand out. I think that perhaps cloning that out and also adding a little bit of detail to the faces would be a big plus for this. So let's take this one out.
Okay, number 3 is out.
Mm-hmm. And a nice shot of the heron. What I especially find appealing in this image is the reflection of what I assume are trees on the other side of the lake. I think that the photographer did an outstanding job leaving room in front of the heron so that it doesn't feel like it's cramped by the frame on the right. The heron is nicely bright, and yet the whites are not blown out. So the post-processing was well done. You might consider the green on the right toward the bottom is a little bit distracting. It would be nice if that were just more like the rest of the water. But I think that it's a well done image and very well seen. Let's leave that one in.
Okay. Number 4 is in.
Yes. And the dragonfly. Wow. This is an amazing shot with the focus of the dragonfly being totally in focus, as well as the lotus blossom. And I don't know what it is behind the dragonfly, but it's nice that it's out of focus. It doesn't compete dramatically with the dragonfly itself. I've taken pictures of dragonflies, and I'm really aware of how much patience it takes to get one that's a nice one like this. A couple of things that you might want to consider would be a little less tightness on the cropping. I feel that the dragonfly needs a little room in front of it at least, and perhaps a touch more behind it as well. Also, if the lighter area on the upper background could be darkened, that would also be beneficial. But it's a well captured image, and the processing is obviously nicely done. So let's leave that one in.
Okay, 5 is in.
And let's see, that's not mine, I don't believe, making the sound.
No, that's mine. Sorry.
That's okay. I thought this was a very clever image. At first, I was trying to decide where this was, and then I realized that it was actually a composite made by flipping horizontally the image. And I think it was very well conceived. The symmetry is wonderful. The fact that the large V seems to be pointing directly at the viewer is captivating. It's very, very nicely thought through and well put together. The lights reflecting on the desktops pull my eyes back on through and into the image. I think that too was extremely well conceived. In terms of things I might consider changing, there's really very little. There is a dark area that's right at the top center. And I'm not sure that it would be feasible to remove that or replace it with something, but I find that it's a little heavy because it's so dark and so center positioned. But a very well done image and very well crafted. So let's leave this in.
Okay, number 6 is in.
And this reminds me so much of many of my trips not to Brighton Dam, but to Kenilworth Aquatic Garden. I love to look at the painters as they take in the views there. And this one captures that feeling of somebody who's enjoying nature, enjoying the art that they're creating, and it gives a nice feeling. I find that I miss seeing the face of the person. I assume it's a woman, and I'm not sure that it works as well in monochrome as it would in color. I would need to see the color version in order to make that determination. But I think the cropping was very well done. And the fact that I can see what she's painting and see her painting at the same time was well thought through. But I think we're going to take this one out.
Okay. All right, number 7 is out.
And this is a charming person. I think the gown and the brilliant pink flowers go so nicely together. The person, the woman is extremely attractive and I think positioned well in respect to the blossoms. That was nicely done. In this one, I would like a couple of things. One would be a little more room behind the woman because she's right next to the frame. And also, when I looked at it in Lightroom, it appeared to be over sharpened a good bit. You might want to take a look at that. If the original is available, redo much of it, but not sharpen it quite as much. So let's take this one out.
Okay, number 8 is out.
And this one is another one that pulls me into the image. I like the fact that there are people in this one because they are a major portion of the focal point. And the fact that they appear to be walking a pet is very nice. And the ability to see the lake behind them at the end of the path just kind of pulls my view right into the picture and on back through it. Nicely done. One thing you might consider is I found that the path right at the bottom was a little too much. I would consider cropping a little bit of that off, but I think that it was a very well done monochrome. So let's leave that in.
Okay, so number 9 is in.
And wow, this is a spectacular photograph of the woodpecker. I think that the photographer was in the right place at the right time and processed it beautifully. The chest feathers are perfectly white, and yet there's a bit of texture. There's nothing blown out. The blacks are dark, but again, there's a bit of detail in them. I also find the cropping on this one quite nice. Plenty of room in front of the woodpecker. It doesn't feel at all cramped. And the space that does not have the twig or the woodpecker on the left side doesn't bother me that it's such a large empty space. I think the fact that the woodpecker is looking at that in that area makes that feel like it belongs there. One thing that you would should consider on this one, when I looked at it on my screen in Lightroom, I noticed that it had a fair amount of noise. There are some excellent software products to remove or eliminate or minimize noise. If you haven't looked at the Topaz Denoise AI plugin, it's almost a miracle with what it can do to eliminate the noise. But definitely, let's leave this image in.
Okay. Number 10 is in. And number 11.
11 is wonderful. What a cute kid. I think the mask, his eyes, the fact he's wearing what appear to be ear protectors, it makes me immediately start wondering what's going on here. Where is he? Clearly, it's not a place that's particularly quiet, and he looks excited. And I love the look in his eyes, and I love the fact that the photographer had the eyes nicely sharp and makes me want to look off to the left where the young man is looking. Very well handled. The only real suggestion that I would have for this one is that it would be really nice to be able to see his feet. Cutting off part of a person is something that can be somewhat distracting. It doesn't quite feel natural or normal. Seeing the tops of the socks makes me especially wish that I could see what's down below and kind of give an anchor to the photograph. But I think we should leave this one in.
Okay, that's 11. Number 11 is in.
Mm-hmm.
John, let me see if my count matches yours. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have a 7 remain in at this point.
Let me double check. Yes, we have 7 left.
Okay. So, Pete, let me ask you this. If you look at these images that are left, the 7,
Uh-huh.
if you wanted to declare finalists out of this bunch, are there any of these that you feel you should cut back before you make your final selection of your number 1?
No, I think they're all wonderful.
Okay. All right. That sounds fine. And can you tell us which one is your number 1 image, the one that would receive the free membership for the novice photographers for this next year, and maybe a little bit about why your logic for that in comparison with the others on the screen.
Certainly. The woodpecker, to me, is the best in show in this category.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that it's such a striking capture and so well processed. I think that the position of the woodpecker, looking down, almost his beak following the twig that he's perched on, and the fact that I can see his entire body, his tail, the cropping was very nicely done. So I can't think of much that could improve this other than the slight denoising that I had mentioned previously.
Okay, Pete. And it's I might note that this image was shot on May 8th of this year, so not sure quite, might have been the Brighton Dam, but anyway, one of those events from the spring. How about we take acknowledge the other finalists here so we can give the names on those. John, can you pull up your screen of all of the 7, and we'll kind of mention those.
Well, why don't we start from number 1? We'll skip
Okay.
who the photographer is of the woodpecker, and then I'll go back on that, and we'll find out who the big winner is.
Perfect.
Number 1.
Oh, all right, Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. Susan Weber is our photographer for that one.
Beautiful. Next is number 4.
All right, number 4 was the heron, and that was shot by Clarence Carville.
Wonderful.
Very nicely done.
Number 5.
Number 5 was the Kenilworth bug, and that also was Susan Weber's.
I like the square.
Yeah.
Good crop.
Number 6. I can probably guess who this is.
Reading room. Let me see. Clarence Carville.
Oh, taking a page out of the Weber's book.
Yes, I know. I was thinking the same.
Very intriguing. Number 9.
Number 9 was Walker's Brighton Dam, and that was Kathy Steele.
Congratulations, Kathy. Nice processing on that. Number 11.
Number 11 is Red-Headed Woodpecker. And
Nope, not yet. Number 11. COVID beware.
Number 11. Okay. Thank you, John.
He's a blonde-headed woodpecker.
Yeah.
Okay. That is. COVID beware, and that was Clarence Carville.
Very nice. And our big winner, number 10.
Also Clarence Carville.
All right.
Red-Headed Woodpecker.
Congratulations.
Very good. So, nice images. So, we've got a couple more than 11 for our unlimiteds, Pete. So, I hope you have a glass of water there. This might take a little bit longer time.
Yep.
We'll do our same procedure. We'll go through and look at each one individually, and then read the name for it, and then when we get that done, we'll go back and do the in-out round, if you will.
Sure.
Okay. Number 1 is Spruce Knob. Number 2 is, I think it's Longwood Gardens. I'm not sure the spelling. Longwood Gardens. Number 3, Baltimore Pride Ropes. Number 4, Brighton Dam Azalea Gardens. Number 5, U.S. Park Police. Number 6, Cache Lake Sunrise. Number 7, Baltimore Basilica. Number 8, Patuxent Research Refuge. Number 9, Redhead. Number 10, Defenders Day. Number 11, Beach Trail at I-6. At L6, I apologize, at 16. 12, Cherry Blossoms. 13, at the ACC 2022 Awards Banquet. Number 14, Blue Hour Blackwater. 15, Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. 16, Meet and Shoot Osprey. 17, Patuxent Research Refuge. Number 18, Gambrills State Park. Number 19, Longwood Gardens. Number 20, Evolution of Civilization. Number 21, Annapolis. Number 22, Brookside Garden. Number 23, Library of Congress. Number 24, Eagles Conowingo. Number 25, Jug Bay. Number 26, Morning Drip. Number 27, Brookside Garden, May. Number 28, Baltimore Basilica. Number 29, Tibetan Meditation Center. Okay, number 30, Brighton Dam Azalea Gardens. Number 31, BE2AI2SI06. Not sure I understand that one. Number
That's
30.
exactly the name I would have come up with.
Number 32, Jug Bay. Number 33, Baltimore Pride. 34, Cherry Blossoms. 35, Eagles Conowingo. 36, Spruce Knob. 37, Awards Banquet. 38, Brookside Gardens. 39, Strikes Twice. Number 40, Defenders Day, Fort McHenry. Hang on 1 second. Number 41, On Patrol. Number 42, The Point. Number 43, Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. Number 44, Blackwater Dinner Date. And the last is numbered 45, Annapolis. So there we have 45 images. And if we can, we'd like to take the same approach with this group, Pete. And got 7:30, so we got, I think, ample time for you to make some comments if you like on these and see what we have as we go.
Absolutely. There are some wonderful images here. This one, I think the exposure time was nicely chosen. I love having a long exposure with the silky water in a waterfall. It is both soothing and interesting simultaneously. I also like the perspective of this. It has the photographer and the viewer looking up, and that almost provides a feeling of intimacy to the image. I do see that there's a lot going on in this, and I'm not sure what the photographer wanted me to focus on. I think the waterfall might have been the right thing to focus on, but in order to do that, I would suggest darkening the rock on the bottom left because it tends to pull my eyes away from the gorgeous waterfall. I do like the position of the photographer and the length of time that he or she used for the exposure, but let's take this one out.
Okay, number 1 is out.
And yes, I remember this area in Longwood. It's a spectacular place, and there are beautiful photographs to be taken in every room that you walk through. And this one, I think that the prevalence of the purple color to me pulls this image together very nicely. And the green, particularly on the bottom, makes an excellent frame for the image. I think that's well conceived and it's a strong image. The one thing I might suggest is the very top where we have some skylights is a little bright, trying to pull my eye away from the gorgeous flowers and the room itself. So I would suggest darkening that area somewhat, and perhaps even putting a vignette over the entire image to kind of darken the corners, particularly the bottom left corner. But let's leave this in.
Okay. Number 2 is in. Number 3.
Spectacular image. When I see this, it excites me, and that's without me being a sailor. I think that the perspective, the lines in this with the sail and the guard lines on the outside of the sailboat, all moving toward a single point, is just wonderfully conceived. And I think that's so nicely offset by the curled ropes and their texture that gives it outstanding balance. The fact that it's monochrome really works well with this. This image to me is all about tones and lines, and it's very, very well suited to monochrome. About the only thing I might suggest is the white area in the bottom center could be just a slightly bit darker, because I want to look at the ropes and be intrigued by their patterns and the shapes, as well as the pattern and the point that the sail and the guard lines make. Beautifully done. Leave this in, please.
Okay, number 3 is in.
And wow, these are happy people. It's hard to look at this and not feel happy. The red dresses are just wonderful, along with the hint of red azaleas in the background. The position of the three women, or four women, I'm sorry, is nice. I would like it a bit more if they were facing me somewhat, or I could see more than just the side of one of the faces. The colors are exquisite. I think that that's what makes the image. But it, because I can't see the faces, it leaves me just a little bit disturbed. Um, but it's a beautiful idea, and a very happy feeling that it would give the viewer. But let's take this one out.
Okay. All right. Number 4 is out.
And an amazing capture. I think that the uh, the shutter speed on this was obviously quite fast, and stopping the rotary and almost stopping the vertical rotor in the back uh, is a good attestament to that. The cropping on this is intriguing. At first, I wasn't comfortable not being able to see the ends of the main rotors, but as I looked at it more, I began to feel quite comfortable with it. The fact that the helicopter was totally included within the image, with the exception of those rotors, seemed to work quite well. The processing was nicely done. The fact that the image is sharp, the fact that the whites of the helicopter aren't blown out is excellent. Let's leave this one in.
Okay. Number 5 is in. Number 6.
Having black and white images of trees and water and sky often doesn't work, but in this case, I feel like it really does. And again, it's because of the wonderful tones and shapes in this. The Even though it's a monochrome, you can almost feel the outdoors. I think the fact that the sky is such a dominant part of this photograph um, is very striking. The fact that I can see some of the reflections of the sky are pulling my eyes on back. But the thing that to me really makes it stand out is the graceful curve that seems to exist in the tree line. The close up on the far right, uh, particularly the bottom right, grabs my attention, and then the shape of the tree line and that graceful curve continues to pull my eyes on back through the image. The only suggestion that I might make for this image is in the bottom left of the image. There are what are probably two fairly light uh, weeds of some type, and they're a bit of a distractant. I think it would be beneficial to darken those or remove them completely. But a very nice image, and let's leave it in, please.
Okay. Number 6 is in. Number 7.
Yeah, shapes. Wow, this the shapes in this are mesmerizing. They they tend to replicate the center shape um, in the surrounding areas. I find that the brightness of the center dome that I'm looking up into pulls my eye directly in that position. One thing that does bother me in this is the fact that it's nearly symmetrical. Generally, I have found that if an image is not at all symmetric, or it is all symmetric, both of those work. If it's nearly symmetric, it doesn't quite feel comfortable to look at for long. Um, the focus, the handling of the brightness is very nicely done, and the colors in this are quite appealing. But let's take this one out.
Okay. Number 7 is out. Number 8.
Yeah, this looks like a woman that I would like to sit down next to and chat about what she's thinking about and what she's looking at. Um, I find that people who sit out in nature and just seem to enjoy it and feel natural themselves about it are usually fascinating to talk to. I think that it's a captivating capture, and the position of the log that she's sitting on and her position within the frame work nicely. I do find that her hair seemed to be blown out, and the dark sweater or jacket that she's wearing, I'd like to have a bit more detail showing in that. Um, but a fascinating woman and a wonderfully seen image by the photographer. But let's take this one out.
Okay, number 8 is out. Number 9, redhead.
And redhead it is. Wow. My my grandson has red hair, and but not quite this red. It's a fascinating person. Um, the strap, the red strap over her shoulder, probably holding a purse or a bag of some type, to me really helps make this image feel good. The the strap almost seems to point up toward her hair, which is which is nice, and the blue dress or sweater that she's wearing works very nicely color wise with her hair as well as her skin. The cropping on this one, I would really like to have a bit more room in front of her so that it doesn't feel like she's about to walk into the side of the frame. Um, it would be good to have a bit more in front of her and perhaps even a bit less behind her. I think the top and bottom are cropped perfectly for her. But let's take this one out.
Okay, number 9 is out. And number 10.
Yeah, this is really heart rendering with all that's going on these days. I spent 30 years in the Navy, and so I can identify with this type of situation. And it's a well seen and well captured image. The things that I would like to see um, as changes are a few things. One is on the absolute right edge in the middle. We have what looks like uh, just a touch of an arm with a white shirt, and since the people saluting are facing in that direction, that little bit of white is just stands out so much in my mind. Also, I'd like to see the people in the background diminish somewhat, particularly the one just to the left of the white arm on the right. Um, I think that the image of is very clearly about the military people saluting and whatever they're looking at, which I suspect is the flag, but there's no way to know that for sure. But a nice capture, but I think we'll take this one out.
Okay, number 10 out. Number 11.
And this one just makes me feel peaceful. The colors in this are wonderful, so relaxing, and the path itself leading down. I love the fact that it's covered with leaves, and those leaves obviously fell from the trees that are so magnificently colored above them. Um, Very nice. I think the photographer did an excellent job picking his or her angle to take the image. I don't feel a need to look all the way down the path and see something at the end. I'm sufficiently comfortable just to have the path leading me back into this relaxing scene. A couple of things that the photographer may want to consider. I find the guidepost on the right with what looks like a six or something, which goes along with the title, is a little distracting. Anytime there's a number or letters, writing of any type, that tends to immediately draw the attention of most people, just the way that people react to written words and letters and numbers. Um, but the path and the feeling that it evokes are outstanding. Let's leave this in, please.
Okay. Number 11. In.
Yes, and cherry blossoms it's such a thrill to be in this area around cherry blossom time, and I don't know where this was taken, whether it was on the tidal basin or not, but the blossoms are clearly in full bloom. And I think that the thing that amused me especially about this was her scarf almost replicates the blossoms. They seem to fit well together. Uh, her her hand reaching up to the blossom, and then the fact that the blossoms are so prominent in this makes this feel very comfortable. The things that I would like to see slightly differently, it would be awfully nice if I could actually see the lady's eyes. And I find that the cat on her handbag is a little distracting because it doesn't really add to the image. I'm not sure how this image would be in color. It might be quite striking, but I think the photographer handled the tones in the black and white quite well. But let's take this one out.
Okay. Number 12 is out. Number 13.
Well, I don't know who this is, but it's obviously somebody I wish I could speak to and be friends with. This is a friendly character. I won't ask who it is, but obviously somebody jolly and somebody having a good time. It looks like one of the old Kodak cameras with its flash standing above, and it kind of tells a story
13.
all in itself. Well, I don't know. Say again. Oh, but I think the idea of the person and the foliage behind the man on the left is nice. It helps the man stand out. I find that the window on the right side of the image is a bit too bright for my taste. It pulls my eye toward the window instead of leaving it looking at his jolly face. And I think that's a shame. He's obviously a very personable person. So let's take this one out.
Okay. Number 13 out. Number 14.
Beautiful sunset or sunrise. When I saw the title of this one with Blackwater, my first thought was, but the water is blue, which to me was one of the real strengths of this image. It needed something down in there to grab your attention and to balance the beautiful sky. I think the silhouetted trees work very nicely against the sky. I would like to see a bit more detail, particularly in the dark area down at the bottom of the image. I think the silhouettes against the sky are fine without detail, but having so much darkness at the bottom goes a little bit beyond what's needed to anchor an image. Even when I looked at it in Lightroom, it had just a bit of detail, but not really enough to to justify that large an area of darkness. So let's take this one out.
Okay, number 14 out. Number 15.
Yeah, another wonderful dragonfly. This one, to me, is cropped beautifully. It's there's plenty of room on both the front of the dragonfly and his tail doesn't feel cramped. And I like the fact that the photographer included a significant part of the plant that the dragonfly is resting on. I think this was a well captured image, and again, like the previous dragonfly, I think this one shows a lot of patience with the photographer. I would like to see in this the background not be quite as bright. I think that it would be beneficial to have the dragonfly be much more prominent in the image, and that could best be done by dropping the exposure of the background, particularly the white areas. Also, a nice vignette, I think, would work quite well on this, in addition to darkening the background. I like the fact that the background is blurred, and that aspect of it does not pull my eye, but the brightness of it does. Nonetheless, it's a nicely done picture and a very good capture. Let's leave it in.
Okay, number 15 is in. Number 16.
Wow, a great picture of the osprey. I love the fact that the bird is looking at me. That Oops, he was looking at me. Ah, he's back. I think the fact that the photographer cropped this almost as a panoramic image was very wisely done. None of the osprey is cut off, which is great, and there's room ahead of the osprey because when I look at it, to me it feels like the bird is moving upward. The focus and the shutter speed on this were excellently chosen, nicely done. I'm not sure what I would change, if anything, on this image. I think that it's a well captured image of a bird in flight. One thing that could make it stand out a bit would be if the osprey were actually doing something, carrying a fish or something other than simply flying. But nonetheless, it's well captured and well processed. Let's leave it in.
Okay, number 16 is in. Number 17.
Yeah, this image was quite interesting to me. I found that there were layers within this, and I like the feeling that the layers give. There's the dark area at the bottom, and then we have a brighter patch of a light green, and then a dark with the heron, another light area, etc. And that's quite appealing to me. It kind of grabs my attention at the beginning and then pulls it on back, looking through the various layers. Also, the focal length, the depth of field, seems quite appropriate. I did find that the heron almost seemed like that's what the picture was supposed to be of, and that bothered me because the heron wasn't prominent enough in the image. Then later I decided that that really wasn't it. It was a photograph of a feeling that exists in the refuge. And when I looked at it with that in mind, I found it quite appealing. Let's leave this one in.
Okay, number 17 is in. Number 18.
Yeah, I wanted to see what this view was. I really wanted to look over the rail of this. And I began to wonder where I was. What is the location? Is this the one of the places on the Skyline Drive, or what? It's obviously a beautiful scene that the photographer was witnessing. The uh, items that are sitting on the two pillars and the broom really puzzled me. I wasn't sure what to make of them. I think that the broom I found quite interesting. Like there's clearly a story there. I also like the fact that the guardrails um, made such a nice shadow on the stone floor. That was appealing. I think that the photographer could have uh, done something a bit more dramatic with that sky. There's obviously a lot of detail that exists in that sky, um, and it could be a major portion of the photograph by increasing dehaze or making some modifications to let those astounding clouds stand out even more than they do already. Um, let's take this one out.
Okay, number 18 is out. Number 19.
Yes, Longwood Gardens is just filled with wonderful images. Um, I like the fact that the photographer decided to do this as a monochrome. Um, if it were just a color image with the people and the flowers and the fountain, it would almost be just a document of a place as opposed to an interesting photograph in itself. I think that the monochrome makes it a bit different, which is a very positive thing to me. I would like to see that edge of the rail at the very bottom cropped out or eliminated. And I think that it would be a plus to show the entire fountain, since we show the edge of the fountain on the right side of the photograph. I'd like to see the same on the left side so that it doesn't feel like it's cut off. An interesting image. The tones are varied and quite nice, but I think we'll take this one out.
Okay, number 19 is out. Number 20.
Yeah, the color in the center dome is spectacular. That's what immediately grabs my attention and holds my attention. And then gradually I begin to see the shapes and they take meaning. I like the symmetry of this. Um, the major circle of the dome is almost perfectly centered with the lines coming out from it. And the fact that the blue area within the dome isn't quite centered, to me adds interest to the photograph. If it were perfectly centered all the way through, frankly, I think it would be more of a nice picture of a pretty place. But the fact that the center portion is not symmetric with everything else does really add some interest. The colors in this are nicely handled, as are the bright areas. The bright areas in the center, the whites, are not blown out, and the bright areas within the blue of the center really pull my attention into that area. Let's leave this one in.
Okay, number 20 is in. Number 21.
This man is clearly quite a character. Um, I love pictures that show beards of this type. Um, Beards seem to add a great deal of character to a face of this type of person. The hat is a very nice addition. I think that the hat sets it to a feeling of a time that existed quite a few decades ago. But it is needed because the sky behind him is is just almost pure white, and he needs something so that we can see his face standing out from those white areas. I would like it a little better if I could see both eyes completely. It's a shame that the eye on our left, as the viewer, has the glasses frame going through the center of it. Um, that I find I keep wanting to see both eyes and see more into who this person is. But it's a well captured image, and let's leave it in.
Okay, number 21 is in. 22.
And Brookside, I live about a mile and a half from Brookside, and so I'm personally friends with this frog after all those years I've seen him. It's a wonderful picture. It's humorous, and it fills me with humor. I think that the mask really kind of makes the image. The the angle of the photograph is intriguing. I think that it to me it seems like a wide angle lens that perhaps exaggerated the feet of the frog, which I like. I think it needed something like that to add interest to the image. I'd like to have a little more room above the frog, and I really wish that the mask that the frog is wearing were the brightest thing in the image, and uh, not have competition from the white wall behind him. Um, I think that if that white wall behind him were darkened somewhat, that would make a significant improvement in this. But I think that it's a clever image, and really one that's filled with humor. Nicely done. But let's take this one out.
Okay. Number 22 is out. 23.
The Library of Congress. What a panoramic. Um, this is well conceived, and again, monochrome was the perfect choice for this. The colors would only detract from the intricate patterns and lines that exist in this building. I like the fact that it feels like it's wrapping around the wide angle lens approach. To me is very interesting. I think the I'd like to have something going on in the image. I don't know exactly what. Certainly not a car passing by, but it would be awfully nice to have a person walking a dog that I could make out, or a uh, policeman on a horse riding past. But the colors, I'm sorry, the tones, the blacks and the whites are just excellently handled. Let's leave this in.
Okay. Number 23 is in. 24.
Yeah, I've been there, and it's an exciting place. I think the this particular image I find fascinating because of the directions of the lenses. Uh, I think that the fact that half of them are aiming back up to our left um, makes me wonder what's flying up there. Uh, the dam is well handled. I wouldn't want to see any more or any less of the dam. I think the photographer did an excellent job cropping this. I also like the fact very much that the portion of the dam or whatever that is that they're standing on begins right at the bottom right corner, and that turns out to be a very nice way to pull the viewer's attention into an image. You tend to start at the corners and sweep back into the curve of this pathway. Um, I would like to see something that was a focal point for me. I keep seeing a lot of photographers and interesting cameras and angles, and the dam is well handled, but I'm not sure where to look. And there's not one spot that holds my attention very long. So let's take this one out.
Okay, and number 24 is out. Number 25.
Wow, this is goes back to the old days when there used to be outhouses, and I'm relatively certain this probably isn't an outhouse, but it reminds me of that. The thing that I really like about this is the fact that I can see through it, and see the lake through the cutout on the other side. I suspect this is more of a bird blind or observation area, but it is intriguing. It does tell a story very nicely. The tree to the left of the structure, um, going up and out of the image, is well balanced by the color of the bush on the right of the structure. And I think the pathway leading up to the open door does tend to pull me in and make me look very hard and long at the structure and the color of the plant on the right. Very nicely done. A couple of things I might consider if I were the photographer on this would be to darken uh, the stump or whatever that is coming out of the water at the very bottom right corner. Um, that's something that tends to pull my eye over that way because my initial thought is to start looking up the pathway, and I keep getting sidetracked by that bright area. And I'd also suggest darkening the bottom left corner with the plant. I don't find that plant actually adds a great deal to the feeling of the image, but it's a well balanced image, nice composition. Let's leave it in, please.
Okay, number 25 is in. 26.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. Don't know where this is, but I'm sure I've seen it because I've seen enough geese in my lifetime. The things that I find especially appealing about this are the patterns made by the feathers on the back of the geese, and the ripple of the water where the bird was dipping his beak. The drop of water coming down from the bird's beak is wonderful. I would like to be able to see the entire bird. The tail being cut off bothers me somewhat, and it feels a little bit cropped too tightly on the top and to the left. I'd like to see the complete circle of that wave that his beak is made in the water. I think that would be a nice benefit. I do like the fact that the photographer kept the reflection in the image. I think that was a wise decision. But let's take this one out.
Okay, 26 is out. 27.
What a wonderful couple. The this this area of Brookside Gardens is one of my favorite spots as well. And the tea house that's behind them in the distance, I think was very good to be included. And I'm really glad that the man's head didn't obscure part of it. That would have not felt at all right. Uh, So I think their position is nicely conceived. I also like the sky very much in this, and how much of the sky the photographer included. That was a good choice. And the sky has a lot of information, a lot of detail, and adds a great deal to the interest. It's almost as though the sky is framed by the arc of the trees that are behind the couple. I would like to see the rock that's immediately to our left of the man's arm be darkened somewhat. I think that it competes with the rest of the image, and I also think it would be nice if they were doing something. It's almost a picture of two people as opposed to a photograph that if you weren't those people, you probably wouldn't be too interested in having it hang on your wall. Um, but I think that the people would find that it was a wonderful memory that they would cherish. But let's take this one out.
Okay, number 27 is out. Number 28.
And the basilica is a fascinating building. And the color or the tones in this are particularly interesting. The fact that we have the crosses standing out so dramatically at the top against the black background is very nice. It's the sky behind those crosses almost feels like this was an image taken as an infrared image, where the blues get turned quickly into blacks. The columns, the symmetry of this is nice. It doesn't bother me at all that the symmetry is broken by the building on the far bottom left and the far bottom right, because those two buildings almost seem to balance each other. I would like to have a little more something at the bottom to anchor the image. It almost feels like the basilica is floating. Um, I do like the fact that the photographer's post processing captured this range of tones. However, I think that was nicely done, and that he or she retained detail in even the brightest areas. Quite nice. Um, let's leave this one in.
Okay, number 28 is in. Number 29.
And this is intriguing. The thing that immediately captures my attention, and I think it would of any viewer, would be the image of the Buddha in the almost the direct center of the image. Then the eyes start wandering around and looking at the flowers and the other objects in the frame, and the two hanging objects. They almost look like they could be kites of some type, some Asian type of kite. Do a nice job of framing the image of the Buddha and the piece of furniture or cabinet that image is held inside. The couple of things that I would consider on this: one would be the really bright area on the far left. It looks like a window, and that's even a bit brighter than the Buddha. And I think it would be very good to darken that somewhat. And the same is true of what's on the far right at the bottom. I think that the image itself is clearly the Buddha in the middle. It might be possible to crop both on the right and left and eliminate the bright areas that way. You'd need to play with it to see if that worked. But let's take this one out.
Okay, number 29 is out. Number 30.
Charming people. um, and obviously enjoying where they are and what they're doing. The flowers behind them, I assume, are the Brighton Dam azaleas. Make a nice background for their dark hair. Um, I do think that it's an image that captured what they're feeling very nicely. And it's hard to look at an image like that without feeling some of that happiness yourself. I think uh, the thing that I would suggest on this is I'd love to have either all of their feet or none of their feet. You could perhaps crop some at the bottom and eliminate the partial legs. Uh, I think it would be even better if all of the legs, if it had been possible to include all of their legs. I think they're charming women. I think monochrome works nicely for this, but I think we'll take this one out.
Okay, number 30 is out. Number 31.
And I don't know if other people have the same feeling I do when they look at this, but the first thing I thought is, I think I must know this person because I've seen so many people who, from my vantage point, are youngsters um, sitting and talking on their phones. The colors in this are wonderful. I think the blue behind her blonde hair is a great combination, and of course her orange skirt uh, adds to that. Uh, Very nice. It's not an image that says a great deal to me. Um, I look at it and I think after I think I know who that must be. Um, I wonder what she's doing, but it doesn't hold my interest for long. Um, so I think we'll take that one out.
Okay, number 31 is out. Number 32.
Um, this is a fascinating image. The when I saw this, and immediately my eyes went down the path or the pier to the person, a woman, I assume, sitting there, and I saw the water looked like it was beginning to come up over the bench that she was sitting on, over the feet. And you almost hold your breath saying, look out. But it does grab your attention. And I think that aspect of it is wonderful. I think the fact that I can't see the woman's face doesn't bother me in this because she's obviously sitting there enjoying looking out at the view that we're seeing. And so it's kind of like we're both looking in the same direction, and it builds kind of a camaraderie with that person. The trees in the background are nicely handled. I like the fact that they're not quite perfectly in focus. Um, if they were completely sharp, I would find that it was pulling my eyes away from the woman and the pier and the bench that she's on. I think the sky, um, there's not a great deal of it, but I'd like to have it darkened a little bit. Um, I don't know if it would be possible to pull any detail of clouds out of it. If it were possible, I wouldn't have dramatic clouds, just a little bit of interest, but mostly to make it darker without seeming artificial. I like the use of the water, and I love the concept of sitting there wondering what's going on with the woman. So let's leave this in.
Okay, number 32 is in. Yeah, 32. Number 33.
Yeah, Baltimore is such a wonderful place to photograph, and this old, I think it's a three-master, is a real joy to tour and to see. I think that what makes this image to me is the sailboat in the distance and the three-master old-time ship with its ropes going up and its rail, um, sort of just makes a frame for the sailboat. I think that the inclusion of the Domino sugar plant or sign um, is an excellent choice. I also like the clouds in this, the sky. It's got enough detail in the clouds, enough change of texture and tone that it's moderately interesting without pulling the attention away from the sailboat, which to me again is the real focus. I would suggest perhaps a little tighter crop on the right, and also eliminating the yellow, I assume a sailboat or a buoy of some type that you can see through the ropes. I think that's bright enough and certainly vivid enough of a color that it competes a little bit with the white of the sails of the sailboat. Let's leave this one in.
Okay, 33 is in. Next image is number 34.
Yeah, the Jefferson Memorial. Such a great view of the Washington Monument from there. And the clouds in this one are very nice. And I think that having the people walking up the stairs toward the photographer actually adds a good bit to the image, even though we don't know who the people are. And I'm somewhat bothered by the fact that the pillars aren't straight. I'd like them to be completely vertical, and it doesn't appear to be a keystoning issue because they both tend to lean a bit toward the left. And the Washington Monument may be leaning a little toward the left, but it almost looks straight compared to the pillars. I think that to me is kind of a major distractant. I keep feeling uncomfortable, like the Jefferson Memorial is about to fall over. So let's take this one out.
Okay, number 34 is out. Number 35.
Very nice. I think seeing a fisherman out in the native area for fishermen is very appealing. It's a combination of excitement and anticipation of catching something and the peacefulness of being out in nature. The lines that the water makes in this image I find very appealing. Without that kind of texture and lines in the river, I think this would be far less interesting than it is currently. The fisherman's jacket with its various tones leads my eyes directly to him, as does the fishing pole itself, almost like an arrow leading toward him. It feels a little tight on the bottom, but the fact that his waders are disappearing into the water helps that a lot. If I could see his waders on down and having them cut off by the frame of the image, that would bother me a bit. The fact that they stop before the edge of the frame saves that, even though I'd like to have just a little more room down there anyway. But let's leave this one in.
Okay, number 35 is in. Number 36.
Yeah, very nice waterfall. And again, one with an excellent choice of shutter speed. This one, the water seems even silkier than the previous waterfall that we saw. The uh, I find that there's a small area down at the bottom of the waterfall that's brighter, as though the water is splashing off the rocks on the right, and I think that's quite appealing. I like having the rock on the right be in sharp focus. Uh, I think that it would be distracting if it weren't. I would like to have a bit more room so that I could see what's going on the left. It looks like there's something happening over there. The white of the waterfall where it's splashing into the water at the bottom is curtailed by the left side of the frame. But it's an appealing image. It's nicely done. Let's leave it in.
Okay. Number 36 is in. 37.
And a fascinating person. She looks like she's a jolly person enjoying the situation and not at all concerned about having her photograph taken. The fact that I can see her eyes both clearly and both in focus is very nice. And I like the fact very much that her eyes are each independently framed by the glasses frames. That even draws more attention to them. She has a nice smile. And I think that the color of her dress, that deep burgundy, is quite appealing. I do find that the background is quite cluttered in this image, though, particularly behind her head, where it looks like there's perhaps napkins or something wadded up on a table. And the fact that they are so bright is distracting in this image. I think that if the photographer in post processing did something to leave her with the current brightness she has, but darken the background considerably, particularly the highlights, it would be a dramatic improvement. Let's take this one out.
Okay, number 37 is out. 38.
Yeah, what a spectacular image. And as I looked at it and I saw what appears to be a fly, I thought, wow, good capture. The orchid color is magnificent, and the fact that the back of the fly is purple, almost like the background to the flower. I thought, wow, that's amazing as well. Very nicely done. I think the depth of field in this was excellent. The virtually all of the blossom that I care to see is in sharp focus, and then it kind of trails off at the top somewhat in the focus, and that is quite comfortable. That gives it a bit of a three-dimensional feel to it. The cropping seems a little bit tight on the top and the two sides, but not dramatically so. The dark, what I assume is the stem leading up from the bottom, is a nice addition to this. The bright, widely open blossom that has the fly on it needed something to balance it, to give it a good composition. And I think that dark area does that quite well. Let's leave this one in.
Okay, number 38 is in. 39.
And this one I looked at many times, trying to decide are the people under the umbrella, the beautifully colored umbrella, are they below the water level? Or is it more of an optical illusion that somehow they aren't? But I thought that the most appealing thing in this, to me at least, was the composition. The balance between the dark greenish water and the bright umbrella was nicely done, and they're delineated perfectly by the stone wall that has intriguing color and texture within the stones. Things that I think could be played with in this. I think it would be interesting to see a bit more contrast and a bit more saturation in the stone wall, and also perhaps a little bit of darkening of the ground area that the umbrella is sitting on. But that's nothing that I consider a major problem at all. I just think it could make a very lovely picture and very interesting picture, even more so. Let's leave this one in.
Okay, 39 is in. Number 40.
Yeah, what a great face and what a great outfit. The the location of this is wonderful, and the fact that I can't see a sharp horizon is very nice in this. Um, I wouldn't want anything to compete with the man standing there, and having it blurred out as it moves back into the image is a very good technique for this. The one thing that I would like to have in this is to have his hand. It appears that I'm seeing just a tiny bit of his hand in the very bottom left corner of this image, and having something that's almost dislocated from the person is somewhat disturbing. I'd like to see either all of his hand, or perhaps none of his hand, or even having his hand holding a sword up into the air would be interesting. I'd also consider cropping this a little tighter on the right. Um, the man has a nice amount of space in front of him, but the fact that he's almost centered in the image um, doesn't give quite as much dynamic tension as it could if he weren't totally centered. So cropping a bit on the right, I think could achieve that. Let's take this one out.
Okay, number 40 is out. Number 41.
I found this just fascinating in a scary sort of way. Um, and my first thoughts on this were that the photographer would have done well to darken the background and make the snake stand out. And then as I thought about it, I thought, this is showing camouflage to an extreme. And I think that's what makes the image to me. Not that you can see the snake standing out from the water, but the fact that they blend in so nicely. And the more you look at it, the more you see of the snake. I think that that's quite captivating. I do think that it would be feasible to darken some of the highlights, particularly the bright areas directly above the snake's head. But and perhaps even a bit of a vignette, particularly at the top and top corners, would be beneficial. But I think it's a fascinating image. Let's leave it in.
Okay, number 41 is in. Number 42.
And this is intriguing. The the position of the camera, I think, is excellent on this. I love the fact that I'm looking almost at the same level of the person sitting. Um, the the grass in the foreground being blurry is exactly the way it should be. I think that having the person and the areas in that plane of the image be in sharp focus, and the distant trees and the immediate foreground grass being somewhat blurry is an excellent approach for this. I do find that the silhouette approach of this works for me, and I find that the cropping on this seems to work nicely. I love the fact that the tree on the right and the leaves coming down from the top sort of circle the man and embrace him with a frame of the image, a natural frame. So I think this is very well conceived. Let's leave it in.
Okay, number 42 is in. Number 43.
What a cute kid. And doesn't look like a happy kid at the moment. I think this is an image that most people can identify with, either from pictures they've seen of themselves or pictures they've seen of their kids or just seeing their kids. Charming little fellow who's kind of wishes that mom and dad would decide it's time to go now. I think the position of the young man is nice. I like the fact that we've got his entire foot down in the bottom right corner and the other leg bent under him. It seems like the way a child would be. I also like the fact that his face and his blonde hair are offset so nicely by the dark foliage in the background. I do think that the concrete behind him could be darkened a good bit. I think that it's too close to him as the subject, since it tends to pull my eyes away from him. When I looked at this in Lightroom, I couldn't tell if his eyes were perfectly sharp or not, but I finally decided, well, I guess they are. So he's a charming young man, but I think we'll take this one out.
Okay, number 43 is out. Number 44.
The dinner date, yes. Often in photography, they say that you should always have 3 or at least an odd number of focal points. And I think this shows why rules are made to be broken. I think this works very, very nicely with the 2 of them, particularly with the shapes of their faces or the heads and the directions their beaks are pointing. I found that the reeds that are surrounding the head and beak of the bird in the back toward the right was kind of nice. It sort of emphasized the shape of that bird's head, and the bird toward the left with its head and neck stretched out more clearly made that bird the leader, forging the way into the marsh. Well conceived. I think the grasses behind the birds, and by behind I mean on the right of the image, are very nice as an anchor point, and I think the cropping on this is virtually perfect. Let's leave this one in.
Okay, number 44 is in, and the last and final, number 45.
Yeah, I find myself wanting to walk down the street with the man. It's tricky often to capture an image with this type of lighting, but I think the photographer did well to have the lighting so that it pulls the viewer on back into the image. I would like to see the woman on the very right edge of the photograph. I don't feel that she's adding anything to the image, and she's a bit of a detractant. And also the sign to the man's left that looks like it says no parking. It would be good if that weren't there as well. But well done with an exposure that's tricky to do, but let's take this one out.
Okay, and number 45 is out. So, Ed, let's take a look at what we have left and see if we're all on the same page. John, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 22 on my count. John, does that match yours?
It certainly does.
Okay.
So we need to eliminate lots.
Yeah, we need to eliminate lots. Of course, we're going to get down to one.
Right.
But could you narrow this down to half dozen or so of your favorites?
Certainly.
How about we
Okay.
do 7 because we had 7 with the novice.
Okay, that's a good
All right.
match.
So that would be 1 best of show and 6 finalists.
Finalists, yes.
Okay. Can I do that by saying which ones to remove? That might be
Sure,
easier
that's great.
for me.
That's great.
So in the top row, let's take out the very first one and the helicopter.
Okay, I'm sorry. That is number 5. Yes.
And it's hard for me to see what numbers they are. Let's take out the third one from the left in the top row.
It's 11.
Okay, I'm sorry. Number 11.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the 5th and 6th from the left in the top row.
It's number 17 and number 20.
Okay.
And let's take out the top right, the far right at the top.
The
That one.
panorama,
Yes,
23.
it's a well done image.
Okay.
And the basilica on the second row, first image.
28.
Okay. 28.
And the fisherman and the waterfall.
Is that number 35 and also number 36?
36. Yes. Okay.
And the fourth one in on the second row.
Number 39.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the next to the last on the second row.
42.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. Okay, let's take out the second row, second image.
33.
And I hate to see him go, but let's take out the dragonfly.
Okay.
15.
15. Okay.
Two more. The fascinating man in the hat.
21.
And the intriguing picture of the pier with the woman about to drown on the top row on the right.
32.
32. Okay. All right. All right, Pete, what would you identify the finalists, and then we're going to go through and read the names of the artists.
Okay, the final, or the best in show for the Unlimited is the very first image shown here, the sailboat.
Okay.
Wonderful image.
Okay. All right, we're going to go back and get that name last. We'll build the drama a little bit here.
I feel the tension.
Number 6.
Number 6, Cache Lake Sunrise. That was Cheryl Kerr.
Very nice.
Yeah, beautiful image.
Congratulations, Cheryl.
Number 16.
Meet and Shoot Osprey, and that is Mike Thomas.
Very nice.
Nice. Well captured.
25.
25 is Jug Bay. That was Ed Nahenke.
Fascinating image.
That's really
I didn't connect that with an outhouse, but when you started to talk about it, it's
It kind of fits, doesn't
it
it?
kind of fits. Yes, it does.
I wonder if Ed ran down that pier and opened the door up. That's almost perfect.
We'll have to
Yeah,
ask
it
him.
really is.
38.
All right, number 38 is none other than Brookside Gardens by Bob Weber.
Very nice, Bob.
Yeah.
I wonder if
Bob,
that's a background he brought.
And I'm interested to know if he did color coding to get the fly in the background.
Yeah,
the same.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
Interesting.
41.
All right, number 41, a name we heard here already. That's On Patrol by Cheryl Kerr.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a wonderful image.
And 44.
44, that was Blackwater Dinner Date, and that's Cheryl Kerr.
Very nice. And finally, number 3, our winner.
Finally, number 3. This is really just a beautiful image. I love the lines and symmetry on this. This is Baltimore Pride Ropes. That was Cheryl Kerr. Cheryl went home with quite a number of kudos here this evening, and
She's got beautiful images.
yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And Pete, thank you for such a terrific job. Your judgment. You've been very thoughtful. You've been very positive about so many good attributes of so many of these images. They just
Oh, they're spectacular images.
absolutely. And both of these folks are going to benefit from a free club membership in the coming 22-23 school year. And but Pete, thank you so much. This was quite a lot of work to go through, and you just took a good bit of time. Again, there's just very thoughtful, kind comments to people about their work. Thank you so much for that.
Well, I really enjoy seeing images like these. They're both beautiful, and obviously the photographer is quite skilled in virtually all of these photographs. Well done. So thank you, and we'll talk again later.
Pete, do you have a website we could share where people can find your work?
You know, I had one, and then I got lazy and stopped updating it, so I don't give it out anymore.
Okay.
Oh, again, thank you so much, Pete.
Absolutely.
We'll be talking soon, and we got lots of contests next year. Maybe there'll be an opportunity that you'd like to
All right.
pleasure us with your company.
Get your
Thank you.
website
Thank you,
up by
Ron
then.
and John.
Well, thank you, Pete. And
Bye
thank
now.
you, Ron. Thank you all for tuning in to our last meeting of the year. All of your club officers, hope you enjoyed our programming. Keep an eye out for a member questionnaire on topics, trips, and other suggestions for next season that will be shared with our programs, contests, and field trip teams. Again, be sure to keep an eye out for our great photographic opportunities from the Arundel Camera Club in the form of meet and shoots, field trips, and our summer picnic, and more. And on Saturday, June 11th, our next field trip is to the National Arboretum, and Mike Thomas just posted a link to that on our Facebook page. Visit arundelcamryclub.org to sign up so that you don't miss any emails about events. Have a great summer. I look forward to seeing everyone soon, or at least at our first meeting in the new season, and that is on Thursday, August 25th at the Severna Park Baptist Church in Severna Park, Maryland, and online. And I think that's a wrap to our season, Ron. Thank you so much, and good night.
Great. Happy trails.